Good day, class. Blessed morning, everyone, and welcome to a new day of learning. To start with, let us have our most essential learning competencies. Compares the characteristics of artworks produced in the neoclassic and romantic periods. Creates artworks guided by techniques and styles of the neoclassic and romantic periods. Describe the influence of iconic artists belonging to the neoclassic and romantic periods. Applies different media techniques and processes to communicate ideas, experiences, and stories, showing the characteristics of the neoclassic and romantic period. So for today, we will be dealing with Romanticism, which started from 1780 and ended in 1840. So first, let us identify or determine what is Romanticism. Romanticism was a movement in which the artists of the neoclassical period sought to break new ground in the expression of emotion. So that's why it's called Romanticism. We have here the word expression of emotion. So both subtle and stormy is embraced a number of distinctive themes such as longing for the history, supernatural elements, social injustices, and nature. So it is somehow related or to be followed by our previous lesson, which is neoclassicism, which discusses or tackles about the history, mythological subjects. So it is also the continuation of that era. So this time, also the landscape painting also became more popular due to the people's romantic adoration of the nature. So when we are dealing with landscape painting, as we have discussed before, the difference between portrait and landscape. So Romanticism was a reaction to the classical, contemplative nature of neoclassical pieces. So what are the characteristics of Romanticism? So number one, it shows the height of action. Number two, emotional extremes. Number three, is celebrated nature as out of control. And then dramatic compositions and heightened sensation with which tackles about life and death moments. So we will be having romantic painting, which is a common artwork that we ought to see. So the painting of the Romantic period gave more emphasis on emotion, on how they feel, on how they express their feelings towards a subject matter. So the different artists during this period express as much feeling and passion as it could be on a canvas. So it is visible in their artworks. So now let us meet our Romanticism painters. So the first artist or our first painter is John Louis Theodore Géricault, who was born in 1791 and died in 1824. So he was born in France. Géricault was the first French master and the leader of the French realistic school. His masterpieces were energetic, powerful, brilliantly colored, and tightly composed. And now we're going to see some of his works. So number one, we have here The Raft of Medusa. The Raft of Medusa portrays the victims of a contemporary shipwreck. The peoples on this raft were French immigrants en route to West Africa. So this is a demonstration, or it depicts uh, the ship being destroyed upon going or their way to West Africa, the French immigrants. Okay, so the next one is the charging chasseur. So first, let us identify what a chasseur is so that we can distinguish or we can identify what is the meaning of this painting. So a chasseur is a soldier, or usually in the light cavalry, equipped and trained for rapid movement, especially in the French army. So that's why you can see a soldier riding on a horse. So this first major work revealed the influence of the style of Rubens and an interest in the depiction of contemporary subject matter. So the next one is the insane women. So from the word insane, we can or we can see, or we can, it is clearly seen in the image that from the word insane itself, that we can identify this woman as losing his or her ability to think accordingly. And this several portraits of Jericho made of the mentally disabled that has a peculiar hypnotic power. So it is mentioned about hypnotism, or the ability to control oneself, or to persuade someone with your intention. So the next artist is Eugene Delacroix, which was born on 1798 and died in 1863. He is also a French, so definitely he was born in France. Delacroix was considered the greatest French romantic painter of all. He achieved brilliant visual effects using small, adjacent strokes of contrasting colors. He was the most influential to the most romantic painters, and eventually his technique was adopted and extended in the Impressionist artists. So his first artwork, or his artwork, is entitled Liberty Leading the People. So Liberty is one of the famous revolutionary who leads the people in reveling during the French Revolution. So this painting commemorates on July Revolution of 1830, which toppled King Charles X of France. So a woman holding the flag of the French Revolution personifies liberty and leads the people forward over the bodies of the fallen. So you can see the dead bodies. So perhaps these are during the war or the battle against the revolutionary army and the uh, army itself. So they still continue to move forward. So this one is quite familiar since elementary. We have Francisco Goya. So he was born in 1746 and died in 1828. So he is from Spain. So Francisco Goya was a commissioned romantic painter by the King of Spain. He was also a printmaker, regarded both as the last of the old masters and the first of the moderns. So he is a transitionist from the old one to the first once, or his artwork demonstrates the combination of the artworks from the old masters, as he conveyed it to the new one. So his first artwork is entitled The 3rd of May. So according to our AP, or yung Araling Panlipunan, so this one is quite familiar since this is commemorating the Spanish resistance to Napoleon armies during the occupation in 1808 in the Peninsular War. So this is entitled the 3rd of May, which is the date wherein the incident happened in the history. So this one is entitled the Saturn, or Saturn devouring his son. If you are familiar with the Attack on Titans, we all knew that Titans are fond or eating the flesh of their offspring. So they were in this one, Titan Cronus, or also known as Saturn. uh, this painting demonstrates the Greek mythology about Saturn, or Titan Cronus, who fears that he would be overthrown by one of his children, so he ate each one of them after birth. So since Saturn, or Cronus, or the Titan Cronus, is afraid to being replaced by his children, so he ate them so that no one will replace him in the future. And then the last one is the burial of sardine. So the burial of sardine was a Spanish ceremony celebrated on Ash Wednesday and was a symbolical burial of the past to allow society to be reborn, transformed with the new vigor. So it is somehow in relation to the Renaissance period, which means reborn, and it is an incident or is an event that occurs during Ash Wednesday. So it's before the Holy Week or the start of the Holy Week. So romantic painting or the landscape painting, we're dealing with the landscape painting. So when we say portrait painting, you're going to draw your image or the image of the person. So now, when we are dealing with landscape painting, we are definitely dealing with different elements wherein the most of the pictures includes mountains, valleys, vegetations, and bodies of water. So I know that you are all familiar with this because you are fond of doing this in your elementary days. So the sky is another important element shaping the mood of landscape paintings. Landscape art ranges from highly detailed and realistic to impressionistic, romantic, idealized. So when we say landscape painting, we are dealing with the illustrations of our nature and our environment. So we could include trees, uh, the bodies of water or lands and seas and etc. Which is in relation to our nature. So the famous landscape artists during the Romantic period is we have Theodore Rousseau and John Baptiste Camille Corot. So they were members of the Barbizon School, so a circle of artists who held meeting in the village of Barbizon that led the romantic landscape painting in France. So they started it in France. So for our engagement, so as we always do, we will analyze these two paintings, which is we have here the Insane Woman and a landscape painting. All you have to do is to determine the elements of arts or after analyzing them. For example, again, what is the line in the image? Is it curved? Is it straight? And so on and so forth, such as with the shape, texture, color, form, and value. Just write your answers on the space. For example, the line is curved. So you will just, okay, or diagonal, and you will just write it there. Okay, and for our assimilation, so you're going to create your own landscape painting. So we have here an example of the landscape painting. So you can create your own landscape painting. So paint an illustration of landscape painting. Observe the usage and application of elements of arts. And then do this on a 1/8 illustration board. So our materials, illustration board, paint or poster paint, paintbrush, or oil pastel. So if paint or poster paint is not available, you can utilize the oil pastel and crayons in creating your landscape. And for our rubrics, so of course we have the quality of artwork, visual impact, so punctuality, and then we have the neatness of your work. And then after doing the activity, you will answer the reflection which is referring to our assimilation activity. So reflect on your performance from the previous task. Answer the given questions below. What is the subject of your artwork? So you will just write your answers beside this question. If you can use the back page if you want, or extra page if you desire to. Why did you choose this subject, and how did you apply the elements of ours as to line, colors, and texture, and what do you feel while doing your artwork? Okay, so that's all for today, class. See you again, class, next meeting. Keep safe, everyone. Once again, I'm your teacher for MAPE 9, Sir Patrick Razon. Take care.